I thought I better make a quick video about a post on Facebook. I think we're all a member of the Embird, the other Embird groups, and when I see confusion about vector files versus raster files, I feel like I need to share it with the group. And this was on Inkscape. So, and this poster, find where I put it. Here. They posted this and said, this is how you create an SVG in Inkscape, and it's actually very incorrect in many, many ways. First of all, when she says to do file open and open the JPEG, with the JPEG selected, go to edit, make bitmap copy, there is no reason to do that because a JPEG is a bitmap. A bitmap is just a raster file. It's a pixelated file. So JPEGs are bitmaps, PNGs are bitmaps, TIFs are bitmaps. So there's never any need to do edit make bitmap copy. There's never any reason. I mean, I guess if you want to, if you're opening an SVG file and you want to turn it into a bitmap copy so that you could, paint it like as if you're in Photoshop and treat it as a bitmap, then yes. But in this case, this poster is opening the bitmap, and we want to turn that bitmap into a vector file. So all of this about the red X and everything is not necessary. Now, and then this about the view display mode outline and the red cross and everything, that's not necessary. And then to trace bitmap, she skipped over what you're supposed to select. You don't just go to path trace bitmap and select update and then OK. You have to choose which way you want to vectorize that bitmap. So I kind of wanted to set everybody straight because it just concerns me when there's confusion with these vector files. So in Inkscape, and I'll show you what you would do or why you would want to have to work with a bitmap in Inkscape. We kind of don't have to, but I guess we could play with it as if it were like a Photoshop program. But at any rate, I'm going to open up a bitmap. It'll be a JPEG or a PNG, and it came from a free site, a license-free site. So I'll just do File, Open. And it was the Greyhound that I'm sure everybody has seen. This particular one, here it is as a PNG. I think I might have had it somewhere as a JPEG. I think I might have downloaded it as a PDF and then turned it into a vector file. And then somewhere along the way I turned it back into a PNG and so on. But I've had it for a while. And at any rate, this is the bitmap. It's a PNG. And like I said, it could be a JPEG. And I'll just click Open. And I just let Inkscape leave it at the defaults, embed from file. I don't smooth it. And I could put this, but I never do. Because you never know, I might want to change my mind. So I'll click OK. And so you can see that, it is a raster file. If I were to click on Select and Select it and hit my plus sign and zoom in, you'll see how it's, very pixelated. And the other way you can tell is if you click on the node selector and you hover over it, you don't see any red lines. And if you click on it, you don't see any nodes. So, I mean, this is a raster file. This is a bitmap. And so right away, if we want to vectorize this, we have it selected. So we'll go to the select button because it's in just a raster image. And we would go to path, trace bitmap, and here you don't just click update, because if you clicked update and just hit OK here, you're going to get this default mode. It'll create a single scan and so on, and this will be your threshold and everything. If that's what you want, that's fine, but you also have to pay attention down here. Normally, embroiderers, we don't stack our scans unless we want to pick certain areas, you know, colored and so on. But for this one, we really only need this top one. But normally we don't stack them because we really don't want them stacked. We want to see, if this were more than one color, we'd want to see the difference in the colors and so on. And I normally don't smooth it, but I do remove the background. So, and if it comes out really funky, then I'll come back and smooth it. You know, I'll delete what I did or undo it and come back. So now I'm going to do brightness cutoff and I'm going to do remove background, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm not creating multiple scans, I'm creating a single scan. And now I'll click OK. Nothing happens, so we X out. And if I pull one away, you'll see very clearly the one I pulled away. Whoops. You can tell which one is the vector one, and if I have this one selected and I click on node selector, now you can see the nodes are showing. So this is the vector object. So this is my raster, my raster bitmap that I really don't need right now. And I think I should show you now. I'm just going to click on the object selector and I'm going to turn this one green, so the vector, you'll know the vector object is green. And so at this point for Embird, what we like to do is we generally don't give it a stroke. So here's my fill and stroke window. If you can't find it, you select your object, you have the select button chosen, you go to object, fill and stroke, and then this should come up. And so normally with Studio, you don't want a stroke, so we'll X out of the stroke. Whoops, the fill is on. You want to fill, so the fill is on and the fill is green. You can see there it's blue. And the stroke, though, you don't want a stroke, so usually always X out of the stroke. Usually, I made this where I didn't as well, and actually this particular design. It's a little more work. We can get the outline of this in Studio just by using the fill. So why bother with everything else, right? So at this point, this is my vector object here. I don't even have to worry about deleting this. I don't even really have to worry about putting this in this little window because Embird's only going to see the vector object anyways when we do import vector object. But the last thing I do, especially since it's a one color, is I go to path union so that there's no overlapping nodes. And then I'll do file, save as, And like I said, I don't even worry about the raster one. And I like to save them as EMFs. I never have a problem with EMFs in Studio. Sometimes SVGs get a little funky. So Greyhound, I'll just say EMF. I already have one here. I'll just call this one blue. And then I'll save it. And I just leave it like it is and say okay. And then when I'm in Embird, now this is another one I did where I did do an outline. I traced it a little differently in Inkscape. So design, new. So in Studio here it'd be design, import vector file. And you know, these are the vector files that it will import, and I'm importing an EMF, but they're all showing. I think they're all EMFs. Here's the blue one. You could see the image is up there, but it won't show because Embird's only looking for the vector file. I guess I could have been not as sloppy. And so there it is. And these are all fill objects. They came through as auto column fills. But of course you can change that to whatever kind of fill you want. I'll just leave that for right now. And I should have changed the angle. Some of them are coming through as different angles. So if you see, I have them all selected and this is grayed out. So I'll just click on one of them, hit parameters, make it at like 35. And then I'll highlight the rest of them, hover with my right mouse, let go, set identical parameters, and then generate them all. 3D. And so that's, I don't like that fill, but, or, you know, the angle is probably, that's a little better. So, you know, you can play with it. And there it is, auto column, and it's splitting it up here because, of course, it's too wide. But a lot of people like that. They think it's really cool. And so you can play with this and decide what you want and so on and so on. And you might have to organize these so that you can set your connections. But like I said, you can make your outline from here as well. So if I just highlighted the whole thing, convert, create outline, change it a different color, group it, group these, hide those, and so now you have an outline. And user editors, custom outlines. I believe I used, the one I liked was this one. The one I used on the other one. And now I'll click the drop down arrow, backstitch 2. I think my width was 3 maybe. And so then there you have it, if you just want that. And then of course you can have that as well. But like I said, you'd have to arrange everything and that looks a little better. So, but then going back to Inkscape, let's just say that maybe you want to fill this part in. with either fabric or motif. You might want to, decide to make a cut file out of it so that you could cut it on your Cricut Maker, for fabric. And so let me save that. And we'll go ahead now and we'll do a sew sim. So we'll Control A and we will go to sew sim. Let me just pause it for one moment. I have it pausing on jump stitch between objects. So when we get to the black, there's several black objects, so it'll pause for almost every black object because I have tie-offs and jumps between those little objects. And pause on jump inside an object so that hover again. If there's an object where there's a jump inside the object, it will also pause. And I don't believe we have that problem on this design. And then I also have it pausing on the color change so that we can discuss the placement of our fabric and so on. And that's what you would do at your sewing machine. It'll be pausing on, or your embroidery machine, it will be pausing on a color change, for your die line and your placement, your tack down, and so on. So I'll go ahead now and play it. Right now, it's stitching the placement line for the patch fabric, for your twill patch fabric. So I'll play it. And the machine stops, and you go ahead and you put down your cut twill patch fabric that hopefully you ironed heat and bond light on the back of it first, then cut it, and now you're going to place it. So when I hit play, it's going to look like it's stitching the twill fabric, but just know that this really is the twill fabric. So I'm going to just speed it up. So we're placing down our twill patch fabric, and the machine stops. And now we will tack it down. So it tacked it down. Sorry, I was still going fast. And now it'll do the satin. All the underlay. Okay, and so now it'll do the placement for this other fabric that we're going to put down, whether it be fancy mylar or satiny fabric or something glittery or leather or vinyl or whatever we're going to put down for the dog. And so that also looks like it's stitching the fabric, so I'll just fast forward through that. So we place down our fabric, and now we're going to tack it down. And now we're going to do our motif. And it's stitching all in one. Even though I have checked on parameters, and I'll show you in a minute, I do have the parameters checked for it to use jump stitches on the motif if need be. But in this situation, we didn't have any. So that's good. So that's stitched out, and now it's going to stitch the black. Now most of the black is all one without any stopping or anything, but now you can see it stopped because it's going to do these little objects inside. And you actually don't even need to stitch those. I think the dog looks great just the way he is. And you can connect those objects if you didn't want to have tie-offs. But let's just go ahead and finish it. So there's the first one, it stopped. Second one, so these are all tie-offs and jumps. Third, fourth, fifth. I'm still going fast, I apologize. And the last one. And so there it is. So I did want to show you, so on the motif, if I click on the motif and click on parameters, you can see I have used jump stitches, but we didn't need any in this particular design. It was able to stitch without using any jumps. So that was good. So there you have it. There's your beautiful patch. The way that I designed it here, we're actually stitching the patch right on our garment. You don't have to stitch it on your garment. You could stitch it on just a piece of wash away stabilizer and just have a patch to then later put more heat and bond light on the back of it, or you could hand sew it on to a garment, or you could sewing machine stitch it onto a garment. You know, you could just sew your patches loosely like that. So the sky's the limit with patches. All right then, I hope I've helped somebody, and thanks for watching.